Okay, in this next video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at all of these, all the healing brush tools, and there's some other kind of like funky things in here, like the patch tool and the content aware move tool, which is similar to the patch tool, but it's more, I don't know, it's kind of complicated. I don't use it that much. Um, Maybe you would, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's look at the healing brush tool first, because that is the one that's most like the um, clone stamp. And the question is always like, well, which one do I use? And I always say it kind of matters on the image, okay? And what do I mean by that? So, or, it's honestly, it's kind of like what your preference is, because they kind of do the same thing, but in a different way. So the clone stamper, what that does is that samples, so the one we just looked at, the clone stamp, that um, samples color information, okay? And then the healing brush tool, what that samples is pixel information, okay? So I always think in my mind, if the crispness and the integrity of the pixels is important, like if it's a very sharp area or there's an area with a lot of texture, I say go with the healing brush. And you might use it and be like, I don't like how this looks. And you go back to the clone stamp. Again, when I worked at the lab, there was like 3 people or 4 people who did retouching. Everyone had their own method. I think I was the only one who liked the healing brush. Um, Most people just use the clone stamper. But anyways, let me show you how it works. And I'm just going to stay on this image because why not? Okay, we can kind of compare and contrast. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to make a new layer, but I'm going to turn this one off. Okay, so first off, before we get into it, I'm just going to right click and I want to show you how this is different than it's like it's not a brush. It is a brush, but it's like the settings are different. Okay. So in this one, excuse me, um, you can see the default is for the hardness to be 100%. So that would give us a really hard edge around it. Okay. And we want to turn that down. You can turn it down to like, for this image, again, it's like, well, what's the image call for? I'll say 10%. Size is the same as before. Spacing is kind of like the pixel spacing. It's like a weird, I just leave it alone. Okay, I don't mess with that too much. All right, so also let's look up here, source, sampled. Um, this is important. Okay, current layer and below. And then diffusion is just like how it's mixing it. All right, so I'm going to leave that at 5. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I don't know why it's remembered that. I haven't sampled that. And again, it's just like before. I'm going to I'm going to hold down Alt, and then left click, and then I'm going to move it over. Hold down Alt. I'm always resampling a lot. If you find yourself not resampling that much, then you're doing something wrong. Okay, hey, that looks all right. Let me zoom in a little bit. Jiminy Cricket. All right, I'm going to sample here, and then just like kind of move that over. And that kind of actually, honestly, looks better. Or maybe I'm just more practiced. Uh-oh, my shadow. This is going to be hard. This is an old, like, ratty JPEG. I should get a new one. I don't know why I always use... Well, it's fuzzy. It's easy. The fuzzier the image, the easier it is. And I would leave it just like that. Okay, it kind of blended a little bit better. All right, so that's the healing brush tool. Okay, let's look at it on one of these. So I'm going to make a new layer, zoom in, and yeah, I'll put a piece of sky right there. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. Okay, and I'll like sample, and then yes, you're gonna make this person look perfect. Retouching is a touchy subject, but honestly, like every image that's printed in any kind of magazine has been retouched. Okay. All right, so that's what I would do, like again. And now, honestly, you might want to pick up the hardness. Okay, maybe not that much. Okay, also, why? We can use this cool tool here, the spot healing brush tool. Now this one is finally different because it is going to just click and sample all layers, make sure that's checked. It has some other things. I find that the content aware on this is fine. I don't really use these other ones, but I would go up here and just click, and that's it. It's just a click. So basically it's just doing like an average around the person, or whatever it's, within that circle. It's going to take an average and it's going to mix it in again on a blank layer, and you can just go ahead and click away. Okay, check out, the hardness, oops, all the way up. I would probably redo that and just bring that down. Again, you gotta be careful with the defaults of these tools. That's too big. You just want it a little bit bigger than the spot you're taking away. All right, so that's the plain old spot healing brush. And there's the healing brush, the patch tool, and then there's the content aware move tool. Okay, so we'll look at those last two tools in a second, but you can see this is like really easy. And it really has, the thing about this tool is it has limited applications because you really need to have a large area where there's just like little imperfections, that there's enough clean area for it to sample and be like, oh, okay, yeah. So like even, I'm going to go back to my hideous image here. This would work probably fine on this, even though I never use it. But yeah, you can just click and, oh yeah, take out the dust. See how this is no fun? This is like zero fun to do. That's why you need to like entertain yourself while you're doing it. It's mindless. You can like listen to a podcast or, do whatever you're doing. Just go through and you just click, click, click. All right, that is the spot healing brush tool.